The Vorlan fleet appeared at the edge of the Arcturus system like a swarm of angry insects. 200 warships, enough firepower to glass a planet. High Commander Thelver stood on his flagship bridge, watching the tactical displays with satisfaction. "Today we finish this," he declared. "Today humanity dies. Again." Intelligence Officer Makthar studied the scans of Arcturus Station. It was hidden in an asteroid field, just as expected. Defensive platforms surrounded it. Human ships patrolled the perimeter. But something felt wrong. "Sir," she said carefully, "the human deployment seems unusual. They have concentrated all their forces here. It could be a trap." "Of course it is a trap," Thelvor replied. "The humans want us here. They think they can use the asteroid field to their advantage, just like at Kelthara. But we are prepared this time. We have overwhelming numbers. They cannot win." Makthar said nothing more. She had learned not to argue with the High Commander when he was certain of victory. On Arcturus Station, Major Haiwan Shin watched the Vorlan fleet approach. She commanded the station's defense forces. 30,000 people depended on her to keep them alive. Most were civilians, engineers, families, children born in the Deathworld colonies who had never seen war. "All defensive positions. Report status," she ordered. The responses came in quickly. Shields at maximum. Weapons charged. Marines deployed to critical sections. Everything was ready. But Haiwan knew the numbers. 200 Vorlan ships against 40 human vessels and the station's defenses. The mathematics were brutal. Admiral Taehyun's voice came over the comm from his flagship. "Major Shin, the relief fleet is 6 hours away. You must hold until then." "Understood, Admiral," Haiwan replied. "We will hold." She did not tell him that 6 hours might as well be 6 years. The Vorlans would tear through their defenses in half that time. But orders were orders. They would fight. They would die. But they would die buying time for others to escape. The battle began with a massive Vorlan missile barrage. Thousands of projectiles streaked toward the station. Human point defense systems worked frantically, shooting them down. Most were destroyed. But not all. Explosions rocked the outer hull. Sections depressurized. Haiwan's damage control teams rushed to seal the breaches. The wounded were carried to medical. The dead were left where they fell. There was no time for ceremony. Captain Dayun led the defensive fleet in a desperate dance around the asteroids. Her ships were outnumbered 5-1, but they fought with the fury of cornered animals. The Indomitable destroyed 3 Vorlan cruisers before taking serious damage itself. "Hull breach on Deck 7, her damage control officer reported. "We have lost main engines. Switching to auxiliary power. Keep fighting," Dayun ordered. "We just need to buy time." But time was a luxury they did not have. More Vorlan ships poured into the system. They surrounded the human positions. Cut off escape routes. This was not a battle. It was an execution. On the station, Haiwan made impossible choices. She diverted power from life support to weapons. Evacuated non-essential personnel to the core. Ordered her Marines to defend the reactor at all costs. A young ensign approached her. His name was Young Min Huang. He had transferred to the station just a week ago. "Major," he said, "the civilian shelters are asking when they can evacuate." Haiwan looked at him. She saw fear in his eyes, but also determination. She wished she could tell him the truth. That there would be no evacuation. That they were all going to die here. But she could not destroy hope. Hope was all they had left. "Tell them to stay put," she said. "Help is coming." Young Min nodded and ran to deliver the message. Haiwan watched him go. So young, so brave. He deserved better than to die in this metal tomb. The Vorlans breached the outer defensive perimeter. Their ships moved closer to the station. Boarding pods launched. Lieutenant Sung Ho's Marines prepared to repel invaders. The fighting in the corridors was brutal. Vorlan soldiers were well-trained and well-equipped. But human Marines fought with desperation. Every hallway became a kill zone. Every room a fortress. They gave ground slowly, making the Vorlans pay for every meter. Sung Ho found himself cornered with 5 Marines in a maintenance bay. Vorlan troops were closing in from both sides. He activated his comm to Haiwan, "Major, we are cut off." "Section 12 is lost, understood, Lieutenant," Haiwan replied. "Hold as long as you can," Sung Ho smiled grimly. That had always been the plan: hold, fight, die, but make them remember the cost. Then something changed. The Vorlan assault suddenly weakened. Ships began pulling back. Boarding parties retreated. On the flagship, Intelligence Officer Makthar showed High Commander Thelvor new sensor data. Sir, a human fleet just entered the system. 60 ships. They are moving to attack our rear positions. Thelvor cursed. The humans had split their forces. While he was focused on Arcturus, another fleet had struck elsewhere. And now that fleet was here threatening his supply lines. Recall half our ships, he ordered. Engage the relief fleet. We will destroy them before finishing the station. Admiral Tae Hyun watched from his flagship as the Vorlon fleet divided. His gamble had worked. By attacking elsewhere first, he had forced Thelvor to split his forces. Now neither Vorlon group was strong enough to win decisively. All ships engage, he ordered. Hit them hard and fast. The space battle became chaos. Human and Vorlon ships mixed together, fighting at close range. Commander G1's reformed Wraith Squadron tore through enemy formations. Captain Da-Yun, despite her damaged ship, continued fighting with savage determination. On the station, Haewon felt hope returning. The pressure was easing. Vorlon ships were leaving. Maybe, just maybe, they would survive. But High Commander Thelvor was not finished. He realized he had been outmaneuvered strategically. The humans had forced him to divide his attention. But he still had more ships, more firepower, more resources. All ships, maximum effort, he ordered. Destroy the station now. Kill everyone inside. The remaining Vorlon forces launched a final, desperate assault. Everything they had. Every weapon. Every missile. They threw it all at Arcturus Station. Haewon saw the attack coming. There was nothing she could do. The defenses were depleted. The shields were failing. They had held for hours. But this would be the end. She activated the station-wide comm. All personnel, this is Major Shin. It has been an honor serving with you. Remember, we held. We gave our families time to escape. We gave humanity a chance. That is enough. Young men heard the message in the civilian shelter. People were crying, holding each other. He sat down and recorded one last message to his family, telling them he loved them, telling them he died for something that mattered. The missiles struck. The station shook. Sections exploded. But it did not die, not yet. The engineers had built it strong. The Deathworld materials held. And in those final minutes, Admiral Tae Hyun's fleet arrived. The Indomitable, battered and bleeding, positioned itself between the station and the Vorlon fleet. Other human ships did the same. They formed a wall of metal and courage. You want the station? Daeyun transmitted to the Vorlons. You go through us first, and the Vorlons tried. They threw everything at the human ships. But Deathworlders do not break easily. They held, they fought, they died. But they held. High Commander Thelvor watched his fleet being destroyed piece by piece. He had numerical superiority. He had better technology. But the humans had something else. They had the will to never surrender, to never stop fighting, to die before retreating. Intelligence Officer Makthar approached him quietly. Sir, she said, we have lost over half our fleet. We should withdraw. Thelvor stared at the tactical display. He had commanded fleets for 400 years. He had never retreated, never admitted defeat. But looking at those human ships, damaged and dying but still fighting, he understood something. You cannot kill what refuses to die. All ships withdraw, he ordered. His voice was hollow, empty. The Vorlon fleet retreated. They left behind dozens of destroyed ships, thousands of dead soldiers, and something they had never felt before. Doubt on Arcturus Station, Haewon collapsed in her command chair. They had done it. Impossibly, incredibly, they had survived. Around her, her crew cheered. Some cried. Others just sat in stunned silence. Admiral Tae Hyun's voice came over the comm. Major Shin, you held. You gave us the time we needed. You saved 30,000 lives today, but the cost, Haewon thought. Half her command staff was dead. The station was wrecked. 20 human ships were destroyed. Thousands of casualties. Victory tasted like ashes. Captain Da-Yun brought her crippled ship alongside the station. Through the viewport, she could see the damage, the scars of battle, but also the lights. The lights that meant people were alive inside. Across the galaxy, news of the battle spread quickly. The Vorlons, who had seemed invincible, had been forced to retreat. The humans, who were supposed to be extinct, had won. Not just survived, won. And in that moment, the balance of power shifted. The galaxy no longer just feared humanity. It respected them. Because anyone who could fight like that, who could endure what they endured, deserved respect. The Deathworlders had proven they belonged among the stars, and the Vorlons would never forget the price they paid trying to destroy them. The supply depot at Tarkos 3 exploded without warning. One moment it was processing fuel for the Vorland fleet. The next moment fire consumed everything. 3,000 workers died instantly. The Vorlan investigators found no evidence of attack, just system failure, but it was not failure. Commander Bora Nam watched from orbit as her sabotage devices did their work. She felt no joy, no satisfaction, just cold calculation. The depot was gone. The Vorlons would have to reroute their supply lines. That would slow their fleet movements by 2 weeks. Mission accomplished, she reported. Task Force Ghost is leaving the system. Her ships disappeared into the darkness. No one saw them arrive. No one saw them leave. That was the point. The Vorlons would not know if it was sabotage or accident. They would doubt their own equipment, their own people. Across Vorland space, similar attacks were happening. A communication relay went dark. A shipyard suffered a mysterious reactor overload. A military base lost all power for 3 days. Each incident seemed like bad luck or poor maintenance, but together they formed a pattern of chaos. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Dayun planned a different kind of operation. She was going to rescue human prisoners from a Vorlan labor camp on Helcor. Intelligence said 3,000 humans were there, mining rare metals under brutal conditions. This is not a strategic target, her first officer warned. The Vorlons will have reinforcements nearby. We could lose the ship. Those are our people, Dayun said firmly. We do not abandon our own. That is what makes us different from the Vorlons. The Indomitable approached Helcor quietly. The labor camp was on the surface, surrounded by defensive shields. Toyun led a team of Marines down in stealth transports. They landed at night when visibility was poor. Lieutenant Sung Ho's Marines moved through the camp like ghosts. They disabled the guards silently, cut the power to the security systems. Within 20 minutes, they had control of the facility. The human prisoners stared at their rescuers in disbelief. Some had been here for decades. They had given up hope of ever being free. Now soldiers in powered armor were telling them to move quickly. We are taking you home, Sung Ho told them. But you must hurry. More Vorlons are coming. They loaded as many prisoners as possible onto the transports. 3,000 became 2,000. Taeyun made the hardest call of her life. The last transport was full. More prisoners remained on the ground. Please, an old man begged. Do not leave us here. They will kill us for this. Taeyun looked at him. At all of them. Hundreds of faces filled with desperate hope. But the Vorlan reinforcement fleet was minutes away. If she stayed longer, she would lose everyone. I am sorry, she said. Her voice cracked. We will come back for you. I promise, but they both knew it was a lie. The Vorlons would move these prisoners, hide them better. There would be no second chance. The Indomitable escaped just as Vorlan warships arrived. Taeyun sat in her command chair, staring at nothing. They had saved 2,000 lives, but she had abandoned hundreds. That failure would haunt her forever. Not every operation was successful. Commander Jiwon's Wraith Squadron encountered a trap near the Meridian sector. The Vorlans had set up fake supply dumps filled with explosives and sensors. When the human fighters approached, enemy ships appeared from all sides. It was a massacre. Jiwon lost half her squadron before they could retreat. Good pilots, friends, people she had trained with for years. All gone in minutes. She limped back to base in a damaged fighter. Her hands shook on the controls. When she landed, she went straight to the memorial wall. She added 12 new names to the list of the dead. Admiral Taehyun found her there hours later. She was still in her flight suit, still staring at the names. You cannot save everyone, he said gently. I learned that lesson 300 years ago. I keep telling myself that every Vorlan we kill is justice, Jiwon said. Justice for Earth, for my family, for everyone we lost. But it does not feel like justice. It just feels like more death. Taehyun had no answer for her. He felt the same way. Every day this war took pieces of their humanity, made them harder, colder, more ruthless. They were winning battles but losing themselves. Meanwhile, on Vorlash Prime, Intelligence Officer Makthar presented her analysis to High Commander Thelvor. She had been tracking human attacks for 3 months. The pattern was clear now. They are not trying to hold territory, she explained. They are trying to create fear. Every attack makes our people doubt their safety. Every incident makes commanders hesitate. They are winning a psychological war. Thelvor studied the tactical displays, hundreds of incidents across dozens of systems, supply problems, equipment failures, missing ships. The humans were everywhere and nowhere. We need to change tactics, Makthar continued. We cannot defend everything. We need to force them into a direct engagement where our numbers matter. How? Thelvor asked. Find something they cannot ignore, she said. Something they must defend, then crush them when they come. Thelvor considered this. The humans had proven they valued their own people. They had risked ships to rescue prisoners. That was a weakness he could exploit. Find their colonies, he ordered. Not just outposts, their civilian populations, their families. Find them, and we will finally bring these Deathworlders to battle. Back on Arcturus Station, Ensign Youngmin Huang sat in his quarters, recording a personal log. He was a communications officer, not a soldier, but he had seen things that troubled him deeply. Today we received reports of Operation Nightfall, he said to the camera. Commander Bora destroyed another civilian facility. 3,000 dead. The official report says it was a military supply depot, but I saw the casualty list. Most of them were workers, families, children. He paused, struggling with his emotions. I understand why we fight. The Vorlons destroyed Earth, killed billions. They gave us no mercy. But are we becoming like them? Are we so focused on survival that we forget what we are trying to survive for? He ended the recording. He knew he should not voice these doubts. Everyone was doing what they thought necessary. But someone needed to remember that humanity was more than just the will to survive. They were supposed to be better than their enemies. Admiral Tae Hyun called a meeting of his senior staff. Intelligence had intercepted Vorlon communications. The enemy was planning something big. They were moving massive fleet elements toward the outer rim. They are looking for our colonies, Dr. Hunwoo said grimly. They know we must have civilian population somewhere. If they find New Horizon or any of the other settlements, it will be a massacre. How long do we have? Dayun asked. Weeks at most, Dr. Hyunwoo replied. Their search pattern is methodical. They will find us eventually. Then we have no choice, Taehyun said. We end the terror campaign. We draw their fleet away from civilian space. We give them the battle they want, Soo-Jin Lee spoke up. That is suicide. Their fleet is 10 times our size. Perhaps, Taehyun agreed. But if we do nothing, they will find our colonies. They will kill everyone. At least this way, we choose the battlefield. We fight on our terms. Where? Captain Dayun asked. Where do we make our stand? Taehyun pointed to a star map. His finger stopped on a system called Arcturus. Here, he said. We fortify this station. We make it look like our most important base. We leak intelligence suggesting it is critical to our operations. The Vorlons will not be able to resist. They will come with everything they have and then... Soo-Jin asked. Then we show them what Deathworlders can do when they are cornered, Taehyun said. We show them that humanity does not die easily. We make them pay for every meter of space. And maybe, just maybe, we make them decide that hunting humans is not worth the cost. The meeting ended. Orders were issued. The human fleet began preparing for the greatest battle of their existence. They knew many would die. Perhaps all of them would die. But at least they would die protecting their families, protecting the future of their species, and they would make sure the Vorlons remembered the day they tried to destroy Arcturus Station. The day they learned that Deathworlders would never surrender, never give up, and never stop fighting for survival. The War Council chamber on Vorlash Prime was silent. High Commander Thelvor stood at the center, his forearms crossed behind his back. Around him, holographic displays showed the destruction at Kelthera. Twisted metal, shattered stations, 20 destroyed warships. The council members watched in disbelief. Some were angry. Others were afraid. The Vorlon Imperium had not suffered such a defeat in over 200 years. This is impossible, Council Member Dracton said. His voice shook with rage. The humans are extinct. We saw their homeworld burn. We hunted the survivors. There are no humans left. Intelligence Officer Makthar stepped forward. She was smaller than most Vorlons, but her mind was sharp. She had spent weeks analyzing the Kelthera data. With respect, Council Member, she said carefully, the evidence suggests otherwise. The weapon signatures match old human designs. The tactics are similar to those used during the Earth campaign. And we have one survivor from Kelthera. Sub-Commander Krelvoth was interrogated before he escaped. He confirmed the attackers identified themselves as human. The council erupted in argument. Some demanded immediate military action. Others wanted to verify the intelligence first. A few suggested this was a trick by rival powers using old human technology. Silence. High Commander Thelvor's voice cut through the chaos. His 3 eyes blazed with cold fire. He was ancient, over 400 years old. He remembered the Earth campaign personally. He had commanded the fleet that glassed humanity's homeworld. I believe Makthar, he said. The humans survived. Somehow, impossibly, they survived. He walked to the holographic display and enlarged an image of a human warship. The design was crude but effective. Heavy armor, oversized weapons, no elegance or grace. These ships are built for punishment, he continued. They can take damage that would destroy our vessels. And look at their attack patterns. They use the environment as a weapon. They flew through asteroid fields and planetary rings. No civilized species fights this way. Because it is suicidal, Drakton said. Only a madman would risk his ship in such conditions. Or a Deathworlder, Thelvor replied. Humans evolved on a hostile planet. They are adapted to danger. What seems suicidal to us is natural to them. He turned to face the council. His expression was grim. 300 years ago, we made a mistake. We thought eliminating their homeworld would eliminate the threat. Instead, we scattered them. We forced them to adapt to even worse conditions. And now they have returned, stronger and more dangerous than before. What do you recommend? Another council member asked. Total war, Thelvor said without hesitation. We mobilize every available fleet. We hunt them down and finish what we started. This time, we leave no survivors. Not one, the council voted. The decision was unanimous. The Vorlan Imperium would destroy humanity completely. High Commander Thelvor was given unlimited authority to conduct the campaign. After the meeting, Makthar found Thelvor in his private office. The High Commander was studying star charts marking potential human hiding places. You have concerns, he said without looking up. Speak freely, sir, Makthar began. I have analyzed their likely hiding places. The humans must have survived on death worlds. Planets we surveyed and dismissed as uninhabitable. She brought up a list on her datapad. Over 300 worlds met the criteria. High-gravity planets, toxic atmospheres, extreme temperatures. Deadly ecosystems, they could be hiding on any of these worlds, she continued. Finding them will take years, and while we search, they can attack anywhere in our territory. Thelvor looked at the list. His expression darkened. He understood the problem. The humans had turned their weakness into an advantage. They were hiding in places no one else would look. Then we make them come to us, he said. We fortify our key installations. We increase patrols. And we set traps. The humans attacked Kelthera to announce their presence. They want us to know they exist. That means they will attack again. What if they do not take the bait? Makthar asked. They will, Thelvor said with certainty. I fought them before. Humans cannot resist a challenge. It is their nature. They will come for us, and when they do, we will be ready. Meanwhile, in human territory, Admiral Taehyun met with his command staff. They gathered in the war room of Arcturus Station, the largest human base. Dr. Hyunwoo presented his analysis of Vorlan fleet movements. They are mobilizing, he said. Every available ship is being recalled to core territories. They are preparing for a major campaign. How many ships? Captain Dayun asked. At least 500, possibly more, Dr. Hyunwoo replied. They have divided them into hunter groups. They are trying to find us. Sujin Lee stood up, her face pale. 500 ships. We have 42. This is madness. We cannot win. We do not need to win every battle, Taehyun said calmly. We need to make them afraid. We need to make them hesitate. We need to make every Vorlan commander wonder if his ship will be the next one destroyed. He pointed to a map showing Vorlan territory. Key installations were marked in red. Supply depots, communication hubs, shipyards, research facilities. We will launch simultaneous attacks across multiple systems, he explained. Small strike forces, hit-and-run tactics. We will not try to hold territory. We will simply hurt them and disappear. You are talking about a terror campaign, Sujin said quietly. We will be targeting civilian infrastructure. I am talking about survival, Taehyun replied. The Vorlans showed us no mercy. They destroyed Earth, they killed billions. Now we make them understand what it means to face an enemy who has nothing left to lose. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what he was saying. They were about to cross a line. They were going to become the monsters the Vorlans always claimed they were. Dr. Hyunwoo broke the silence. I have developed new weapons specifically for these operations: sabotage devices, computer viruses, autonomous mines. We can cause maximum damage with minimum risk." Captain Dayun nodded. "The Indomitable is ready. Give me a target and I will make sure it burns." Others around the table voiced their agreement. Only Sujin remained silent. She looked at Taehyun with sad eyes. "I hope you know what you are doing," she said finally. "I hope humanity remembers why we fight. Not just to survive, but to remain human." Taehyun met her gaze. "I will never forget," he promised. "But first we must survive. Then we can worry about our souls," the orders were issued. The human fleet divided into task forces. Each had a specific target. Each had orders to strike fast and retreat faster. The terror campaign was about to begin. In his cell aboard the human flagship, Krelvoth listened to the preparations. He had been kept alive for interrogation. The humans were surprisingly civilized with their prisoners. They fed him, gave him water, treated his injuries, but he heard them talking, heard their plans, heard their anger. These humans were not the same species the Imperium had fought 300 years ago. Those humans had rules, honor, mercy. These humans had none of that. The Deathworlds had stripped away their civilization and left only the will to survive. They would do anything to win, sacrifice anything, destroy anything. Krelvoth realized something that terrified him. The Imperium had not destroyed humanity. They had created it. By forcing humans to survive in the worst conditions imaginable, they had forged them into perfect weapons. And now those weapons were pointed at the Vorlan Imperium. Outside his cell, the human ships prepared for launch. Soon they would strike. Soon the Vorlans would learn what it meant to face Deathworlders. And soon, very soon, the galaxy would understand that humanity was no longer hiding. They were hunting. And nothing in the universe was more dangerous than a predator with nothing left to lose. The Kelthera system appeared peaceful on the long-range scanners. 3 planets orbited a yellow sun. 2 asteroid belts provided cover. The Vorlan military outpost sat on the second planet, a rocky world with thin atmosphere. Captain Dayun Park stood on the bridge of the TDS Indomitable. Her hands gripped the command rail as she watched the tactical display. 20 Vorlan ships guarded the system. 3 were heavy cruisers. The rest were patrol boats and supply vessels. "They do not see us yet," her sensor officer reported. "The asteroid field is blocking their scans." Dayun smiled. The human fleet had approached slowly, using the natural debris and radiation to hide their signatures. It was a tactic learned from hunting in Deathworld environments. Predators always used cover before striking. "Wraith Squadron, you are clear for launch," she said into the comm. Commander Jiwon Kang sat in her fighter cockpit. She checked her weapons one last time. The stealth fighter was small and fast, covered in special plating that bent sensor waves around it. Dr. Hyunwoo had designed it using materials from a death world, where magnetic storms made normal sensors useless. "Wraith leader to all units," Ji-won said calmly. "Remember your training. Silent approach. Hit the satellites first. No survivors, no warnings. 10 fighters detached from the Indomitable. They drifted through space like ghosts, their engines running cold. Ji-won had lost her family on Earth, her parents, her sister, everyone she loved. Every mission was personal for her. Every dead Vorlan was justice. The first satellite never knew what hit it. Ji-won's missile struck dead center. The explosion was silent in the vacuum of space. Wraith Squadron moved like sharks through water, destroying communication relays and early warning systems. Within 5 minutes, Kelthera was deaf and blind. On the surface of Kelthera, Sub-Commander Krelvoth noticed his screens going dark. At first he thought it was equipment failure. Then another satellite went offline. Then another. "All ships to battle stations," he ordered.
"We are under attack!"
But it was too late. The human fleet emerged from the asteroid field like demons from hell. 42 warships, guns blazing, shields at maximum. The Vorlan defenders scrambled to respond, but they were confused and disorganized. Captain Da-un targeted the nearest Vorlan cruiser. Her weapons officer fired the main cannon. The projectile was simple but devastating. A solid slug of heavy gravity metal fired at incredible speed. It punched through the Vorlan shields like paper and tore through the hull. "Target destroyed," her weapons officer reported with satisfaction. The Vorlan ships tried to fight back. They had energy weapons that were faster and more precise than human guns. But human ships were built different. Their armor was thick, designed to withstand the crushing gravity and corrosive atmospheres of Deathworlds. Vorlan beams scorched the hull but did not penetrate. Dayun piloted the Indomitable through the enemy formation. She flew erratically, breaking every rule of proper naval combat. She dove through debris fields. She used explosions as cover. She made the Vorlans chase her into dangerous positions. A Vorlan patrol boat got on her tail. It was faster than the Indomitable and closing quickly. Dayun flew straight toward Kelthera's planetary ring. Her crew shouted warnings. The ring was full of ice chunks and rocks moving at high speed. No sane pilot would enter it during combat. But Dayun was not sane by Vorlan standards. She was a Deathworlder. She had trained on planets where the weather could kill you in seconds. This was nothing. The Indomitable plunged into the ring. Rocks bounced off the shields. Ice shattered against the hull. Behind her, the Vorlan patrol boat tried to follow. It was not built for this. A large asteroid clipped its wing and sent it spinning. Another rock finished it off. Dayun emerged from the ring and rejoined the battle. The Vorlan fleet was being torn apart. Human ships worked in packs, surrounding enemies and hitting them from all sides. It was brutal and efficient. Sub-Commander Krelvoth watched in horror as his fleet died. These were not the tactics of a civilized military. These attackers fought like animals. They used the environment as a weapon. They took insane risks. They showed no fear of death. Who are they? His communication officer asked in panic. Krelvoth did not know. But something about their ships looked familiar. He accessed the old military archives, searching for similar designs. When he found the match, his blood ran cold. Humans, he whispered, but that is impossible. We exterminated them 300 years ago. On the ground, Lieutenant Sung Ho Yoon prepared his Marines for assault. He had never seen Earth. He was born on a death world called New Horizon, where gravity was twice Earth normal. Every soldier in his unit was the same. They wore powered armor that helped them move in normal gravity. Without it, they would be too heavy. Remember, Sung Ho said to his troops, the Vorlans are weak. They cannot match our strength. They cannot match our speed. Show them what Deathworlders can do. The dropships landed near the main Vorlan base. Sung Ho led the charge. The Vorlans fired their weapons, but human shields absorbed most of the damage. The Marines closed the distance quickly. Close combat was a nightmare for the Vorlans. Human soldiers were stronger, faster, and more aggressive. Sung Ho grabbed a Vorlan defender and threw him across the room. Another Marine kicked down a reinforced door like it was cardboard. The Vorlan defenders fought bravely, but they were not prepared for this kind of assault. They had trained to fight civilized enemies, enemies who followed the rules of warfare. Humans did not follow those rules. Sub-Commander Krelvoth tried to organize a defense, but his communications were down. His ships were destroyed. His soldiers were being overrun. He made the only choice he could. He ordered evacuation to the fortified command center. But Sung Ho had anticipated this. His Marines were already at the command center entrance. They planted explosives on the door. The blast knocked Krelvoth off his feet. Marines poured through the smoke. "Surrender and you will live," Sung Ho said in the Vorlan language. His accent was terrible, but the meaning was clear. Krelvoth looked at his remaining soldiers. They were terrified. These humans were monsters from their nightmares. He dropped his weapon. Above the planet, the battle was over. 20 Vorlan ships were destroyed. The human fleet had taken some damage, but no ships were lost. Admiral Tae-hyun watched from his flagship as Marines secured the surface installations. "Bring me the Vorlan commander," he ordered. An hour later, Krelvoth stood in the Admiral's ready room. He was bound but unharmed. Tae-hyun studied the Vorlan officer carefully. He saw fear in those alien eyes. Good. Fear was the point. "You destroyed Earth," Tae-hyun said quietly. "You hunted my people across the galaxy. You declared us extinct." Krelvoth said nothing. What could he say? "The Admiral was right, but we survived," Tae-hyun continued. "We hit on worlds you thought were uninhabitable. We adapted. We grew strong. And now we have returned." He leaned forward, his old eyes hard as diamonds. "You wanted to eliminate the threat of humanity. Instead, you created something worse. You created survivors with nothing left to lose. You created Deathworlders who know how to fight. And now we are coming for you," Krelvoth finally spoke. His voice shook. "You cannot win. The Imperium has thousands of ships, millions of soldiers. This victory means nothing. This victory means everything," Tae-hyun replied. "It means humanity is no longer hiding. It means the galaxy will learn what happens when you try to exterminate a species from a death world. It means you should be afraid. He ordered Krelvoth taken to the brig. The Vorlan would be kept alive for interrogation. Information was valuable, but also, letting one enemy survive to tell the tale was part of the plan. Let him tell the Vorlans what he saw. Let him spread fear. Captain Da-Yun found the Admiral later, standing alone in the observation deck. She could see the damage on the Indomitable reflected in the window. Scorch marks and dents. They had won, but the cost was real. We did it, she said quietly. We proved we can fight them. We proved we can win one battle, Tai-Hyun corrected. The war is just beginning. The Vorlans will respond. They will send more ships. Stronger ships. We have bloodied their nose. Now they will want revenge, Da-Yun nodded. She understood. This victory was important, but it was only the first step. The real test was coming. Then we prepare, she said. We hit them again before they can organize. We show them that Deathworlders do not wait to be hunted. We are the hunters now. Tae-Hyun looked at her young, fierce face and saw the future of humanity. Maybe they could win this war. Maybe they could make the galaxy fear them again, but the cost would be terrible. He only hoped humanity would remember who they were fighting for when the darkness came. The cold sleep chamber opened with a hiss. Admiral Tae-Hyun Kim gasped as his lungs filled with air for the first time in 10 years. His muscles ached, his head pounded, but his mind was sharp. It had to be. Every time he woke from cryo-sleep, something important was happening. A young officer stood beside his pod. She wore the gray uniform of the Terran Defense Fleet, the same uniform Tae-Hyun had worn 300 years ago when Earth burned. Admiral, the Council is waiting, she said. Her voice was steady, but her eyes showed fear. Tae-Hyun nodded. He pulled himself up slowly. His body was old now, even with the cryo-sleep. He had lived through 50 wake cycles. Each time he hoped it would be the last. Each time humanity needed him again. The corridor outside was carved from solid rock. They were deep inside an asteroid, hidden from the galaxy that thought humanity was dead. Emergency lights cast red shadows on the walls. Tae-Hyun followed the officer through the maze of tunnels. Other crew members stopped and saluted as he passed. Some looked at him with hope. Others with doubt. The council chamber was a large cave converted into a meeting room. Screens covered the walls showing star maps and ship designs. 12 people sat around a metal table. Tae-Hyun recognized some faces. Others were new. Captain Da-Yun Park stood as he entered. She was young, maybe 30 years old. Her flight suit had scorch marks from recent combat. Admiral, she said with a sharp salute. Beside her sat Dr. Hyunwoo Choi, the chief scientist. His gray hair and tired eyes made him look older than his 60 years. Next to him was Soo-Jin Lee, a civilian representative from New Horizon Colony. She wore simple clothes and had dirt under her fingernails from working in the underground farms. We have a problem, Dr. Hyunwoo said without greeting. He pressed a button and the main screen lit up. It showed a sleek alien ship with purple hull plating. This is a Vorlan scout vessel. It was detected 3 days ago at the edge of our territory. Tae-Hyun felt his heart sink. The Vorlans, the species that had destroyed Earth, the ones who had hunted humanity across the stars and declared them extinct. Did they see us? Tae-Hyun asked. No, Captain Do-eun said. I intercepted them. The Indomitable destroyed their ship before they could send a full report. But they got off a partial signal. The Vorlans will investigate. Silence filled the room. Everyone understood what this meant. For 300 years, humanity had hidden on Deathworlds, planets with crushing gravity, toxic air, and deadly wildlife. Worlds that no other species could survive on. The Vorlans had surveyed these planets long ago and marked them as uninhabitable. They never looked back. But humans could survive anywhere. They had evolved on a death world called Earth. When the Vorlans destroyed their home, the survivors fled to places even worse. And they adapted. They grew stronger. How long until they find us? Soo-Jin asked. Her voice trembled. 5 years, Dr. Hyunwoo said. Maybe less if they search aggressively. Then we run, Soo-Jin said. We pack up the colonies and find new hiding places. We cannot keep running, Captain Da-Eun said sharply. We have ships now. Real warships. The Indomitable proved that. 1 human vessel destroyed a Vorlan scout easily. 1 scout ship, Soo-Jin shot back. The Vorlans have thousands of warships. Millions of soldiers. If they find us, they will finish what they started. Tae-Hyun raised his hand and the arguing stopped. He walked to the screen showing the destroyed Vorlan ship. Memories flooded his mind. He saw Earth burning, saw evacuation ships exploding as they tried to flee, heard the screams over the radio as orbital stations died. He had been a young officer then, barely 25 years old. He had commanded a destroyer escort. His orders were to protect the civilian transports. But there were too many Vorlan ships, too many missiles, too much fire. He made a choice that day. He abandoned the rescue operations, left thousands of people behind to die, because saving some was better than saving none. That decision haunted him through 3 centuries of cryosleep. "Show me our fleet," he said quietly. Dr. Hyunwoo changed the screen. Now it showed a massive cavern carved inside an asteroid. Ships floated in zero gravity, connected to construction docks by metal cables. They were not pretty ships. They looked rough and brutal, with thick armor plating and oversized weapons. But there were many of them. 42 warships, Dr. Hyunwoo said with pride in his voice. 12 cruisers, 20 destroyers, and 10 frigates. Plus support vessels. We have been building them for 50 years using materials from the Deathworlds. The armor is made from compressed heavy-gravity metals. The weapons use technology we salvaged and improved from captured Vorlan equipment. Our crews have trained for years, Captain Daun added. Most of them were born on Deathworlds. They are strong, fast, tough, better than any Vorlan soldier. Taehyun studied the ships. They represented hope. 300 years of hiding and building and preparing. But were they ready? Was humanity ready? "If we hide, we die slowly," he said. "The Vorlans are expanding. Every year they come closer to our territory. Eventually they will find us by accident, just like this scout ship did. And when they find us, we will be trapped in our colonies with nowhere to run." He turned to face the council. His old eyes were hard as steel. "If we fight now, we have surprise. We have ships they do not expect. We have weapons they have never seen. We can hurt them before they know we exist." "You are talking about war," Sujin said. "A war we cannot win." "I am talking about survival," Taehyun replied. "The Vorlans gave us 2 choices 300 years ago. Die fast or die slow. We chose to survive. Now we choose how we survive. As prey hiding in holes, or as hunters taking back what is ours." Captain Dawen stood. Her hand went to her heart in salute. One by one, the military officers around the table did the same. Even some of the civilians joined them. Sujin remained seated. Tears ran down her face, but she nodded slowly. She understood. They all understood. This was not about revenge. It was about making sure humanity never had to hide again. "We strike first," Taehyun declared. "We hit them hard and fast. We show them that humanity is not extinct. We show them that Deathworlders do not die easily. We show them fear," the council voted. It was not unanimous, but the majority agreed. The fleet would launch in 30 days. Their first target would be a Vorlan military outpost called Kelthera. It was small and isolated, perfect for testing their strength. After the meeting ended, Taehyun returned to his quarters. They were simple. A bed, a desk, and a small window showing the stars outside. He sat down and opened his personal computer. He began recording a message. "To whoever finds this message," he said, "My name is Admiral Taehyun Kim. I was born on Earth in the year 2247. I watched my homeworld burn. I watched billions die. I have spent 300 years in cryosleep, waking only when humanity needed me. Today I may have made the choice that ends our species, or saves it. I do not know which." He paused, choosing his words carefully. The galaxy once feared humanity. They feared our potential, our aggression, our refusal to accept limits. Then they tried to eliminate that fear by eliminating us. They failed. We survived in places no other species could survive. We grew strong in environments that would kill anyone else. Now we return, not as victims, not as prey, but as predators. The Vorlans wanted to create fear. Instead, they created something worse. They created Deathworlders with nothing left to lose. He ended the recording and closed the computer. Through his window, he watched the fleet preparing for launch. Ships moved into formation. Crews ran final checks. Soon, very soon, the galaxy would learn that humanity was not extinct, and it would learn to dread the Deathworlders' fleet.